Namaskar friends, this is NJ, your host on this channel. So guys, in this video, we will have our discussion on the power of the blessings, divine grace or kripa, and how we can connect the trine houses like first house, fifth house, ninth house with it via the placement of all the planets that we will try to understand on a very brief, on a very concise way. Just because guys, in next couple of days only, I'm sure by the time when I will upload this video, Jupiter is going to be coming out of its retrograde motion. So just because I thought, and during that time only transiting moon is going to be getting conjunct with the Jupiter. So let's talk on a topic which is in synchronicity with the theme being laid out by the planets in the cosmos. And guys, I just want to make it very clear, I am not high on drugs these days, because lot many people, my loving community members, have been commenting, Nipun, the way these days you have been connecting, talking about chakras and spirituality, it looks like you started taking gummies or you started taking drugs. So guys, okay, let me make you understand this in an astrological language. The beauty of astrology is that through understanding the impact or influence of planets in someone's life, you can actually get to know about the journey of that person, that what exactly is driving the behavior of that person, how nature is working through that person. So when I started this whole YouTube channel, my whole of this journey started in the Saturn Mercury time period, which was only responsible for bringing me here. And during that time, all of my videos have that flavor of the playfulness of the Mercury energy. When Venus happened, Saturn Venus, that time I was already going through the film school, and there was a lot of creativity, lot of kind of gigs which you would have seen in my videos. And right now I'm in a very strongly activated 8th house time period. These days, from morning till night, the only thing which I am searching, which I am doing research, which I am consuming is all about energy. It's all about chakras. It's all about Kundalini. So whether you like it or not, you have to be with me, because you are a part of my journey and I am a part of your journey. And guys, this is what the beauty of astrology is. Like even at a time when I was in Bharati Vidya Bhavan, like a couple of months back in India. So over the weekends, like when I used to attend the classes and all, we all are like socializing, meeting new people and all. Like just because some of the people who knew me from my YouTube channel, they also like were very nice. We are talking, meeting. But over the weekdays, now if someone has to identify themselves and they are giving me a message, so that girl will not say, hey Nipun, remember my name this, we met. She will say, Nipun, remember like Libra Lagna and the Swati Nakshatra. Nipun, remember like 6 life path number, that person you met. So this is what the beauty of astrology is, that whatever is happening in someone's life, any sudden transition, you can actually correlate, connect and empathize with the part of or the journey of that person. So please be assured, I'm not on any drugs. This guy in my Hindi channel, so he even left a comment. This is what happens when someone is on the cheap drugs, saste nashe. So it's not like that. Okay guys, so now in this video, we will be talking about the concept of the blessings or the grace, honoring the planet Jupiter. So guys, look at it in this way. Like obviously there have been those instances where some accident happened, like for example, a car accident or a flight crash. The whole of the passengers died, but somehow one person survived. Nothing happened to that person. So this could be seen as there was some higher entity or power which actually protected that person. Whenever I'm like working on someone's chart, and if I actually have to see the part and the portion of blessings or grace working in someone's life, so generally we can look at it in this way, that these are those people, they enjoy good health, like God forbid, even if some problem happens, the solution, the remedy also remain accessible to them. These are like those kind of people. Like generally when we talk about all those kind of events which are connected and aligned with the biological life cycle, they generally do not suffer in all these kind of areas. They are all the time well guided in their family life. There's a lot of happiness and love for each other, and they're living a contented life. This could be one of the way for approaching or comprehending the power or contribution of blessing or grace in someone's life. Like the way guys, and this is where I always say this thing, that even because of the rise of the artificial intelligence and something, even after that, like those people who are doing something good, even in the realms of astrology and something. So there is a portion of the blessings and grace which is working through them. Otherwise, these days, guys, there is one platform which I also use on and off. It is being founded and being designed by a good friend of mine. So in this AI astrology platform, if I will put like sun in the 10th house in the data bank, it will give me like 1,000 charts. If I were to be doing a research on, okay, how the dasha of for the Aries Lagna 10th lord being placed in the 5th house, what event could happen? Can you give me the reference chart to validate? You will be you will be given so much of the information and the data. But even after that, when we talk about the predictions, the blessings and kripa work in this way, that how strongly the prakriti or the nature talks to you, how much you are in sync with the nature to foresee the events happening in someone's life. Like the way, guys, why to go so far? Like day before yesterday only, I was doing a reading for this person. So this person is born on 1962, and a specific month and date which I cannot reveal, but that was the time when 7 planets were aligned in one zodiac sign, and in the chart of that person, those 7 planets were in the 12th house. And at a time when I was doing this reading, I always give attention to the omens as well at a time when I'm doing reading for someone. And somehow, I do not know from where, right on that time, there was a heavy storm which came in Vancouver, because I just live close to the ocean, my whole glasses were getting banged. So all what I'm saying is that the power of blessings and grace is working, operating in everyone's life. In which capacity and in which specific area it is influencing you through planets, we will try to look at or study it in this video. Because, guys, it becomes very important to understand the difference between, and that is the only reason these days I'm doing a lot of research in that which portion of your life is something which cannot be changed, which cannot be altered. Also, what all things you can manifest. Where is the role of the God or the divinity, or the percentage of the blessing and the prayer comes. Like, there have been those kind of people who are complete atheists, still they are living a very happy life. And they're like those kind of people who are very religious, they are very regular with their prayers, but still they are suffering. There could be health crisis, there could be financial issue. So it becomes very important to understand how actually life works. Where does the role of the blessings and the power of the blessing comes? Okay, guys, let me give you a very simple example. So, for all those people who follow Bhagavad Gita, over here, if you have to attach, I always divide, if these 3 entities, you have to allocate certain level of percentage. So for example, our free will, the way our mind function, it works, let's allot it 70%, just a random number. The portion of the prarabdha or the destiny which is unaltered, which you have to deal, which you have to endure, which you have to go through, it's like a bow which has already been it's like an arrow which has already been shot. It's just waiting to come and hit you. So let's allot that portion of the destiny as the 12%. And then there is a portion of the divine consciousness which resides within. Let's allot it 6%. So as per the Bhagavad Gita, let's attach Arjun as that portion of our free will, of our mind. Let's allot it 70%. Duryodhan, let's allot the difficulties in the life as the 12%, something which is unaltered. And the divine consciousness, let's attach 6% to it, which could be the Lord Krishna. So what happened even in the Mahabharata, when Arjun and the Pandavas, they were not being able to bend Duryodhan to release, give them their rightful share. So finally, when they tried everything, they went on an exile. Even after that, when nothing was happening, then they reached the divine consciousness. Then they reach to the Lord Krishna, to which even Lord Krishna said, bro, this is what your destiny is. This is what your fate is. Even I cannot change it. Then Pandavas or the Arjun would have said, then okay, how can you help us? You are the God. You need to do something. Okay, if you are insisting, let me try. He goes on as a peace diplomat, to which Duryodhan denied, no, I will not bend. This is what it is. They are like beggars. I'm not gonna give them anything. So to which divinity still did its part. Lord Krishna agreed to be the driver of the chariot on a condition that even after that I cannot come in the way of your prarabdha. I will still not lift any weapon. Whatever it has to do, you only have to do that. I can just give you inspiration, I can give you motivation, I can give you guidance, but whatever has to be done, it is you who has to do that. And that is a different case, that even after not lifting any weapon, it's the Lord Krishna only who executed everything. But again guys, everything happens with a price. A price needs to be paid. Even after like giving them everything and winning them the war, even after that, like Pandavas have to sacrifice their own children in that war. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, let me give you one more example of this story of the blessing and kripa. Then we will connect astrology with it. So what happened? I read this story. I heard this story, I mean to say, in one of the preaching of the Osho. So what happened? In India, we have those wandering saints, the fakirs and all. So what happened? Because they have to beg for the alms, because they are all the time meditating in the mountains, in the caves and all. So there was this guy, he was out there in order to beg for the food and all. So on one of the shop, that shopkeeper, he was very religious person, and he just came out of doing his prayers and something. It was a sweet shop. So and you know, in the morning, once you are done with the prayers, you have just opened up your shop for business, and suddenly some spiritual person has come to your shop. So he gave him few samosas, few puddings and all to eat. So the fakir got very happy. He gave him, he did not give him the blessings like this. He just looked up in the sky. Oh, please be merciful to him, please be merciful to him, and he moved forward. Then he was going to the next shop, and it was an ice cream shop. So the guy, he was also very religious, he was a very strong disciple of the God. So he also called him, hey, please can you come here? So I'm just starting off the business in the morning, so just for the good omen, I saw you, so let me give you one ice cream. So he gave him ice cream. The spiritual guy, he again looked in the sky. He says, oh God, be merciful to him, your kids and all. Then the saint is going on the way. So he has all the samosas in one hand, and he has ice cream which has already started melting in another hand. There was young couple. They were they were watching them. So the guy said, see, look at him. He looks so greedy. He already have food in one hand, and he has to finish the ice cream as well. And he does not even wearing proper clothes. He is so shabby. So the girl also said, see, the ice cream has already started melting. He does not even have manners. He's so shabby, this and that. So they started passing comment to him. He did not say anything. And the saint, he's still looking up in the sky. They are imbecile, they are immature. Please don't be rude to him. He says, what is he talking to? Is he talking to himself? So the guy even spanked him on his head. The girl, they were young couple, she also tried to pull his the scarf which the saints and all they carry. So they did that. Still the wandering saint, he did not lose his temper. He did not pay any heed or attention. He just keep on looking in the sky, says, they are imbecile, please be merciful to them, don't punish them. He did not get affected with that. After a while, few seconds after, the couple, they started biking away. Suddenly what happened, there was a bull on the side of the road. He suddenly banged his his horns on the bike. So both of them fell from the bike, and the guy had his head being very severely injured, and the girl was also bleeding. And then when he was the saint was passing through them, it's I keep on wishing to my God that not to punish you, you are imbecile, immature, but what shall I say, what shall I do? He loves me so much that he cannot see his disciple being tortured. So what I'm saying is that the blessings and the kripa actually, guys, play a very important role. I still remember when I was in India, I attended one holistic workshop. So this lady, she is a Reiki healer and expert and all. She was telling me this thing because I was looking at a chart which she brought. She told me that they are having issues with conceiving a child and all. So then I asked her, ma'am, did you do her healing? She says, Nipun, we did not only do the healing for her and all, but also I gave her one advice as well. Just because she has had couple of miscarriages in the past, and she was telling me that, see, when we look at people who are economically, financially, they are not that blessed. They're like our maids and all who are like still struggling with the financial means. But then that Reiki healer madam, she told me that her client was telling her that her maid has got 6 children and they all are healthy. Then my Reiki teacher told that lady that okay, if you have this provision, ask your maid to bring her youngest kid to your house when she is coming next time for the cleaning job, and keep the baby in your hand, just play with that baby, so that energy shall pass to you. So that is what the power of the blessing and the kripa is. I just wanted to tell you in short. Okay guys, now we will talk about and we will try to connect the planets with it. So guys, look at it in this way, like trine houses, like first house, fifth house, ninth house, beyond any doubt are very important. Understand and look at it in this way. First house, in which capacity the blessings or the grace or the kripa or the fortune help us. First house, strength. If in any capacity, we are going to have multiple discussion on this. It's a very open-ended kind of discussion. But if you will find the blessing to be operating from the first house, then generally these are those people who get very good start in their life. Like, you know, the kind of family you are born into, the kind of health you have had in the childhood, the kind of childhood experiences you have had. And again guys, when we talk about the first house, receiving the blessing over there, it is your power to attract good fortune in your life, to manifest big things in your life. So if only you will find first house to be receiving the blessing, working with the grace, native is going to have potential and capabilities to turn around his life, to be safeguarded from any imminent threat. Now when we talk about the fifth house and ninth house, guys, these two houses are very important because see, fifth house is the past life merits, is the pur punya. It's the fortune which comes to you or which you have earned from the past lifetime. And along with that guys, whatever is coming to you from the past, over there it's the blessing of the ancestors or the pitris also play a very significant role. I guess guys, recently only when I was like talking about one of the video on the Ketu, I mentioned over there, like when we honor our ancestors, in a way we are fixing our DNA, fixing our cells or activating our DNA through our veins, through our body. It's like our father, our grandfather, they all are like flowing through us. Their you know, their happiness and their blessings and their talent, all of that is flowing through us in our body. So if, and in all those kind of cases where you will find the energy of the fifth house to be receiving the blessings or the divine grace, generally it can be looked at in this way, that not only this person has done some very good deeds in the past life, but also in terms of the like support and blessings of your ancestors, of your forefathers, of your departed ancestors is also working through you. Majority of the people like who talk about the Pitradosh, like all those kind of families where you will find the history of many suicides, many accidental death, many big misfortune kind of events and incidents and all, you will definitely find the flaw, the affliction to be there in the fifth house. So yes guys, fifth house becomes very important because just a mere analysis and scrutinization of this house will give you this indication that yes, the manas, the buddhi of this person is very accentuated. He has done some good deeds in the past lifetime, and the ancestors or the forefathers have also been happy with the journey of this life. And again guys, fifth house is so important guys. It's like what is the eventual and ultimate gain of the marriage? From the 7th house, it's the 11th from the 7th, which becomes the 5th house. This is also the house of your progeny as well. You know, like what kind of happiness and success you're going to have on the account of your children, your progeny. And again guys, everything is energy. Like the way I told you at the beginning, I've been reading a lot about the energies these days. Like even in our human body, like you know, there are like 5 layers to it. Like the physical body, Anamaya Kosh, then comes the energy body, then comes the manas, the mind, the mental body, then comes the wisdom body, and then eventually comes the bliss body. So what I'm saying is that a lot many people, like you know, even at a time when the couples are trying to plan a child, so how much love and surrender they have towards each other, all of that also becomes very important. Like you know, lot many people who just plan a baby just for the sake that we have to prove it to the society. Like if you are procreating with this in your mind, these are those children who leave their parents in their old age because they have to be a part of the society, they have to do the job and make money. But those where even in those couples there is love, these are those kind of families where children and parents, you will find a togetherness in the whole family. So fifth house is very, very important. If you actually have to see how blessed, how fortunate a person is, no matter whatever thought comes to your mind, suddenly circumstances start getting aligned in the same direction. So all of that generally happens. This could be the thoughts which are being implanted in your mind, or which could be working out because of the blessings of the ancestors, can also be attached with the fifth house. Now guys, the minute we come and we reach the ninth house is very important because this is the house where the divine protection reside, but this is where you have to earn it. It's just like that when you are born, you're born with an opening balance, which could be the fifth house. But whatever you are adding to it in this lifetime, that is your ninth house. And all those kind of things, people who go to the temples, people who go to the church, people who go to the mosque, people who are very regular with their prayers, with their religious austerities, all of that is the ninth house. Guys, the good part about the ninth house is that if I were to be very precise, the role of a guide or a mentor or any teacher or any guru works out very strong. Like only if you can actually accept someone as a guru in your life, it can completely turn around your life. Now let's say for example, if life hasn't provided you like that, this could be a case that you started seeing and worshipping like Lord, any of the god, Hindu gods as a guru only. Like if I were to say, I have always worshipped like Lord Shiva as my Ishta Devta, and I always see Lord Hanuman as my guru. So I mean to say, but the role of a guru becomes very important for your, like for you to be well guided, for the omens to help you, to protect you, to be protected and safeguarded. In short, ninth house plays a very important role. And again guys, when we talk about that, we all have to be in a progressive motion in this lifetime, that whatever you acquired, see whatever you are born with, that is your first house. Whatever you acquired, that is your fifth house. What you build from it, that is your ninth house. So after all of that opening balance and something, ninth house becomes very important. Again guys, a lot many people will say this thing, and in India, especially in India, I come from the northern part. Over there, even if you're like traveling in the mountains, in lot many of the buses and the cars, you will see written Pitra Kripa, the blessing of the ancestor. So again, it's open to debate that let's not make our ancestors fight with the gods. The only difference comes guys, like the way I talked about the 5 layers in the human sheath of the body. The bliss body, the Krishna consciousness resides, it's the outermost layer. Even in our human body, when we talk about the chakras and all, so the Sahasrar, like the Sahasrar chakra, like Sahasrar resides right on the top of it, like Mooladhara is on the bottom. In between, it's just like that we are like a Jivatma. So the individualized soul from the Jeev, would we become Jad or would we become Shiv? Would we become like dull or would we become transcendental? So all of that is dependent on somehow over there. Ninth house plays a very, very important role. And yes, over here, it's all the interplay of what you attract towards you, your opening balance in the life, the support which you get, and what you build. This is how you can correlate. Now guys, if you have to connect the planets over here, so when we talk about the sun, again guys, it is going to be very broad discussion. If I will also start placing the zodiac signs as well, just we can have our this discussion, we can summarize it with the planets and their placements only. So when we talk about from the sun's point of view, so guys, sun in itself represents the pure consciousness. The good thing and the good part about this could be the energy of the sun or this could be energy of the moon is that they reside on the Ajna chakra, you know, on the level of cleverance, intuition, clarity, and the common sense. So sun and moon, their energy generally work out in this way. Again guys, the good part about the communication with the support of the sun and the moon energy is that it is going to be very evident, and it is going to be the feeling factor. What you feel will become very important. What you the kind of thought which comes to you, which takes up the shape of the feelings and all. So over there, sun and moon plays a very significant role. Now let's say for example, if the luminaries are going to be placed in the first house, so definitely guys, the blessing and grace will work out in this way that it all comes down to your own conviction towards the things, and the meditative powers will play a very significant role if it is going to be placed in the fifth house. So guys, over there, it's just like that, the sun or the moon, that simply tells about that yes, you have taken some right decision even in the past. I always say this thing, just the mere placement of the planets in the fifth house will also tell about the kind of experiences you would have had in the past life. Mars being exalted in the fifth house, you might have been a warrior, a commander in the past life. Jupiter being exalted in the fifth house, you might be working as a priest, as a advisor, as a consultant in good capacity. So sun and moon are the luminaries which we can see with our naked eye every day. So that means the blessing of the ancestors is always going to be around you. They are all the time keeping an eye on you, safeguarding your interest if sun and moon are going to be placed in the fifth house. This is how blessing is going to be working out in your life. And guys, if it is going to be placed in the ninth house, so I would say this thing that yes, for any very apparent kind of guidance, awareness and all, being religious becomes very important. And again guys, when we talk about even Ida and Pingala, the Chandra Nadi and the Surya Nadi, over there as well, breathing plays a very important role. The prana within you, that plays a very significant role. Now guys, let's say for example, if it is about the planet Mars. Now if Mars is going to be working out in the first house, fifth house, ninth house, guys, Mars is like a commander. Mars has this power to defend. When we talk about Mars also plays a very significant role in shaping up our character, because it tells about our conviction to stay firm in our belief, in our values. Now if Mars is going to be placed in the first house, again guys, that just tells about that yes, all these are the qualities which you have within you. They resonate very strongly with your personality. Again guys, Mars can be connected with the Manipura chakra, with the solar plexus. So that also tells about that yes, there is a lot of power within you. All and everything about the Hanuman consciousness. Only if you can sacrifice, only if you can surrender. If Mars is going to be placed in the fifth house, it is strong. So again guys, Mars being in the fifth house, that in itself tells about that yes, you would have been a part of the Martian pursuit even in the past lifetime. Like if you actually want to feel energized, if you feel that okay, I'm being dominated, I'm being bullied, you actually want to derive the energy, pray to your ancestors. If Mars is going to be placed in the ninth house, again guys, Mars has to do with a lot with the physical body and all. So yes, firm belief, strong religious austerities, taking pilgrimage, all of that will become very important. Like the shram is important. Many people say this thing that if Mars is connected with the red color, the bricks are of the red color, that contribute bricks, like some of the Lal Kitab, red book remedies, donate the bricks for the construction of any religious place. It is a very good remedy for the planet Mars. Now guys, if it is going to be the planet Mercury, now guys, Mercury is somehow connected with the Vishuddhi chakra. So it's just like that, communication, mantras will play a very significant role. If Mercury is going to be placed in your first house, so yes, you will actually attract many people who are have that merchant kind of mindset in your life. You have this capacity that blessing and the grace will work in your life through your own strong discriminatory intelligence, your capacity to take right decision. If Mercury is going to be placed in the fifth house, again guys, Mercury in the fifth house generally tells about that yes, all aspect of communication, that your thoughts, whatever kind of thoughts are coming to you, so if you are completely attuned with your primal nature, so those are the ways by which the Prakriti and the nature might be planting those thoughts in your mind. So always be very mindful that suddenly if a thought has come to your mind and now the whole energy of your body is being driven towards one direction in the life, it might be case that some sort of karma of yours is getting ripe. It's getting ripe, and this might be planted by the grace of your like your ancestors only. If Mercury is going to be placed in the 9th house, so again guys, listening to the spiritual discourses actually becomes very important. This is one such way by which you can fortify or strengthen the prospects of your blessing and grace. Like even if you are a Christian, so reading Bible; if you are a Hindu, reading Shiv Mahapuran, reading Bhagavad Gita, doing all the part. For the Muslims, this could be the Quran. So all of that will become very important. Now guys, if you have the planet Jupiter, now it is a most favorite placement if Jupiter is going to be placed in the trine house. So guys, if Jupiter is going to be placed in the first house, so that in itself means this thing, that Jupiter somehow is going to be, the divinity is going to be favoring you, luck is going to be supporting you. Guys, I always say this thing, that what we feel, what we think, our desires, what we want, that is the moon. But the first house in itself tells about that what kind of energy you attract towards yourself. If Jupiter is going to be placed in your first house, you automatically attract goodness in your life. You automatically attract the right advice, right counsel, and the religiously important people towards you. If Jupiter is going to be placed in the 5th house, again guys, just the mere placement of the planet in itself just tells about that, yes, your ancestors will communicate you or will be responsible for your like giving you the right set of wisdom, guidance, right set of knowledge to happen in your life. So your ancestors will actually play an important role. This could be a case that even in the past lifetime, you might be working in a capacity where you are giving advice to people. You might be having that knowledge of the Prakriti, of all the rituals, all the religious austerity. You might be holding up any of the religiously important designation or position that can be seen with Jupiter's placement in the 5th house. Now guys, if Jupiter is going to be placed in the 9th house, there is no option now. There is no option. You have to be religious. Again guys, I can tell you with my, I'm already in middle age. So whatever I have learned throughout in this life is that all those things which I have been doing as a kid, that just came by default. No one forced that to me. It came as a default. But I can tell you, luck is a thing which plays a very, very important role. I am doing astrology professionally. I see charts. I hear people's plight. Whatever we read in the newspaper, luck actually plays a very important role, and that is the only reason, like when those kind of accident news come and one person escape unhurt, and so many of those stories of miracle and divine protection. So that means luck is a thing which is there, which can be seen with any name and identified with any name. You call it God, you call it Allah, you call it Krishna, you call it anything, but there is that power which is all the time there. So that means if your Jupiter is going to be placed in the 9th house, that in itself makes you very fortunate, it makes you blessed, and whatever faith or belief system you have, staying very ritualistic, very religious, very regular with that will become very important. Now guys, if in your case your Venus is going to be placed in any of the trine house, gives you, like, because again guys, we cannot overlook the innate nature of the planet. It's just like that, even Saturn, if wants to give us something, it will only give us through struggle, through grief, because this is what the innate nature of the planet Saturn is. Same is the way when we talk about Venus, Venus has got everything to do with the enjoyment, with the comforts, with the luxury, with the the bhakti yoga, like the devotion and the love becomes very important. It's not about what your plans are, or what your intuitive faculties are telling you. What you feel becomes very important. The feeling part becomes very, very important. When you do not have any guilt, you do not have any regret, all what you reverberate is love. That will define you. So guys, Venus being placed in the first house, again guys, blessing and grace will work in your life in a way that you will automatically attract happiness, love, relationship, opportunities towards you. If Venus is going to be placed in the 5th house, again guys, a lot many people have this notion of, just because Venus being in the 5th house, oh, you can be very romantic and something. No guys, these are like those kind of people, if they are driven to any form of art, anything to do with the art, with the academics, with the creativity, with the spirituality, these are those kind of people. Like when we say that like I see a lot of that coming in from the Eastern European people, like some of them from Russia as well, like who have come to the Vrindavan and they are completely surrendered to the Lord Krishna. And again guys, fifth house has to do with the past. You, all those people are who are coming in our life, there is always a give and take on a soul level with them. That is the only reason. Like a birth, human birth has got everything to do with the settlement, reconciliation of the karmas, of the energies. So that means a lot of them might have been in some of their past lifetime, might already have been a devotee of Krishna, or they might have that desire that in one of the lifetime we might get a chance to serve and be in love with the Lord Krishna. There have been this story, you know, it's like I'll not take much time. So like India, which has got a name Bharat, which has been named on the name of a king. So there have been that story that when Bharat, like he was a very jubilant, very valiant kind of king who ruled in India. So in Bharat, in Bharat. So what happened after, like, you know, like the life cycle in India, like in the Sanatan Dharma, has been divided in sectors. Like, you know, the very first is the celibate, like the brahmacharya. Then comes the household duties, like 25 years, like grahast. Then comes the vanprasth. You start slowly, gradually discarding your duties to retire, and then comes the sannyas. So when he actually ruled his kingdom with complete fairness, with complete honesty, and after when he reached that stage that when he has to give the complete handover of his kingdom to his children and deviate towards the transcendental knowledge, towards the sannyas, complete surrender to the God. So he did that, and once he was like there in the sea. Once he was there in the sea, he was doing his like prayer to the rising sun, and he saw one deer. My God, my pronunciation with the deer and deer. So I hope you will understand. I'm talking about the animal deer. So what happened? He saw a pregnant deer. She was running away from the tiger, some wild animal. So she was already pregnant, and when she was like trying to cross the ocean, in that kind of rush and something, she delivered the baby over there. She kept on running and she also died, but the baby was there. And the king Bharat, he was doing his prayers. So you will find the mention of this story in the Bhagavad Katha. So his heart got, you know, very sympathetic towards that newborn deer. So he take that deer in his arms, that baby deer, and he took him to his ashram, where he was like staying there in the ashram, doing meditation, doing prayers, doing fire rituals, doing havan, and just the whole day taking the name of the God. Now, just because every time now, once he brought that deer to his home, now it was his responsibility to give him food, give him like milk and something. Slowly, gradually, he became very fond of that deer, that every time, even when he sat for doing the meditation, in the back of his mind, he's still being distracted that I hope there's no wild animal which is going to take him, or something will not happen to him. And slowly, gradually, what happened, once he was like deep in meditation or something, the deer, he saw other tribe of the deers, he just he joined them, and then he disappeared. And after that, when the king, the Bharat, he came out of the meditation, he started searching for him, he cannot find it, then he got into depression, and slowly, gradually, even on his last breath, while dying, he was still thinking about that deer. So he died in the pain of that deer. And then the story goes that in the next life, because whatever thoughts you have at the time of the death, you are born in that cycle, and he's born as a deer. So imagine the whole sacrifice which he did, the whole kingdom and the whole glory he sacrificed for the liberation, for the enlightenment, was happened just to be born as a deer. So that's what I'm trying to say. So again guys, coming back to the story, if your Venus is going to be placed in the 5th house, that actually tells about that, yes, comforts, enjoyment, luxury will come to you. The real definition of the pleasure and happiness will come to you. See, again guys, it also tells about, like, you know, some people are born with that. You know, some people are born with good taste. Life keeps on putting them in the position where they are being very well taken care of. So whatever is happening in your life, in the domain, in the department of the comforts, happiness, enjoyment, luxury, it is all attuned, aligned with what you have earned from the past lifetime. So, and again guys, like let's say for example, if Venus is also your Atma Karaka, Venus is also your Amatya Karaka, so all of that will become very strong. But let's say for example, even in the past lifetime, you abused this indulgences and the pleasure in this lifetime, if irrespective of the fact that no matter like how hard you try, you're still not able to manifest a lover, a partner in your life, there is no love, no happiness in your life, no enjoyment in your life, I guess the only thing left for you guys is to pray to your ancestors to grant you that. Because if it is in the 5th house, it is somehow connected, attuned with your ancestor. The kripa, the blessing is still lying with your ancestors. If Venus is going to be placed in the 9th house, again guys, it's a typical case, like especially all the Krishna devotees, you go to the Vrindavan and all, and some of those people, like, you know, who are using the art form like music and instruments for the devotional songs and something, this could be your way to it. So again guys, if your Venus is there in the 9th house and you actually want to invoke the blessings and kripa and grace in your life, you do not have to be like Saturn, and you do not have to be like Mars, like dry, hard, torturing yourself. Again guys, you can invoke the divinity within you as well, or even if you're like pursuing it out there in the temples, in the mosque, in the church. So try to establish a connection, you know, like, oh my god, I'm giving so many stories. I still remember guys, there is this movie which I watched of Priyanka Chopra, Saat Khoon Maaf. I will never forget that scene. That was amazing movie. It was adapted, I guess, from a novel. So long story short, Priyanka Chopra in that movie, he married 7 guys, and every one of them have had some flaw. In the movie, she got married once, and that guy had certain flaw. Then she has to kill him. Second, kill him. Third, kill him. What happened after, I guess, the 6 kills? Oh my god, I'm getting the goosebumps. After the 6 kills, there was this guy who knew Priyanka Chopra in her whole life story. So then at the end, now because she is also passing the age as well, right? Now she is already old, and he knew that guy who knew that she has already been married 6, and somehow he had his doubts that she killed all the 7 husbands. Now when he accidentally meet her, and then she after that reunion and everything, then she told him, hey, tomorrow is an important day, do come to visit me. He asked, okay, what's special about tomorrow? She says, I'm getting married again. He says, please, ma'am, I will not let you kill another 7th husband. She says, no, come tomorrow, and this is a husband which cannot be killed. It's like immortal. No one can kill him. He got surprised. Okay, who is she talking about? So the next day, she gives the address of the church, and it was a ceremony where she get married to the Jesus, and she becomes a nun. Oh my god, it was very, very emotional. It was very emotional. So she ultimately accepted like Jesus as her husband. Okay, okay. Okay, so yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So this could be Venus in the 9th house. It could be all those people who are singing, dancing, being a devotee of the Krishna, or this could be the nuns and all, which can also be attached with it. But yes, for you, you do not have to go through self-torture. Surrender is the key for you, and being in love is the key for you. Now guys, if you have Saturn, see, Saturn is different. Saturn is difficult. So if your Saturn is, guys, in the 1st house, so again guys, be mindful, be welcoming that the difficulties and the blessing and grace needs to be earned. There is no shortcut to it. You have to earn it, and through practical experiences. Guys, over here I will recommend Dr. Robert Svoboda's book, Greatness of the Saturn. Like, you have to read it. It's like, you know, the story of the Vikramaditya, the kind of torture and agony he goes through, but still he passes all the tests. Even at the end, even like Shani Dev, like even Saturn was happy with him that, okay, no one could, you are not a normal human, because any other normal person would have been broken by now. So that means Saturn's placement in the 1st house, the blessing and grace need to be earned. And yes guys, like if you have Saturn in your 1st house, so yes, you will attract those kind of energies, even in like for blessing or grace to work through you in your life. I would say this thing that yes, a lot of the Saturnian energy, people are going to be very wise, very mature, very methodical, very practical. These are the kind of people. And sometimes, you know, even to solve other people's problem, other people's grief might be your way towards success, towards upliftment in your life. If your Saturn is there in the 5th house, again guys, it needs to be checked the dignity and strength of the planet Saturn, because somehow Saturn is responsible for the grief as well. We cannot overlook that fact. And whatever is going to be happening in the matter of your progeny, children, your experiences in the department of the children, your experiences about how much gains, happiness you're gonna have in your matrimonial life. I keep on saying this thing, fifth house is very, very important, guys. And our buddhi, our past life merits, everything is connected with this house. So that simply means that if your Saturn is going to be placed over here, and if you are finding blockage in any of these department and area, I would say this thing that more than the divine, it's the seeking blessing from your ancestors will become more important. And again, guys, going deep within you, it's like, meditation and fixing your breathing will become very, very important. So more than any of the religious person, which might be the domain of the planet Jupiter, you actually need the guidance from a yogi, someone who's like a proper yogic mindset kind of person. You need the guidance, you need a guru, someone like this. That can be said with the placement of Saturn in the fifth house. Again, guys, Saturn has a concern or a potential to like it has got the Stambhan Shakti to block things. So that means in certain ways, I will not say this thing that this is the Pitru Dosh. I will not call it to this as the Pitru Dosh. But let's say, for example, guys, because see, in a way, more than the ninth house, fifth house is the focal point of everything, because the education happens from here, children happens from here, happiness from the marriage happens from here, our daily thought process happens from here, professional transformation happen from here. So ninth house can block things in a way of the divinity reaching you, but fifth house can actually give you struggle in the daily running around, like all those biological things which needs to be done in this lifetime. Saturn can actually create a blockage over there. So that simply means Saturn's placement here is a high possibility, vulnerability, irrespective of the fact that which zodiac sign it is. The Pitris, the blessing of your ancestors will become very important. So again, guys, that's what we say, that when you are in that, if you are a yogi kind of person, you can even dive deeper into your past so many cycles of the birth as well. But again, you need that, either you need to have the discipline within you, or you need the help or guidance from someone who is already reverberating on that level. So that connection needs to be established. If, guys, your Saturn is going to be placed in the ninth house, so again, guys, Saturn does not have much to do with the religion or the religious austerity. Saturn is about finding the God, finding the divinity within us. And again, guys, like the way I gave this example, a Jeev, whether a Jeev will become Jad or a Jeev will become Shiv. So like a human will become dull, or human will become like transcendental, like Shiva. So all of that is dependent on your inner illumination. So Saturn plays an important role over there. But again, I would still say this thing, that the yoga and the yogic meditation practices will become very important. Again, guys, like the way I told you, ever since my 8th house dasha and everything begin, and whatever we study, we read on a plane of the religion and the religious text and all. But when you like try to blend yoga with it, your human body, Ayurveda, prana, chit with it, there's a lot of the clarity which you get. They all are working in synchronicity with each other only, but it gives you, religion takes away control from you, like you surrender. But yoga and meditation and spirituality gives you, awakens that divinity same within you only. So I would say that spirituality is the answer for you. So rather than being on the long queue of the temples, mosques and churches, yoga, meditation, fixing your breathing, knowing your prana will become very important. So yes, guys, I would say that's what I can say for the Saturn. Rahu and Ketu, oh my god, they are the most important planet, guys. Never ever undermine the power and the importance of Rahu and Ketu. Again, guys, all those planets, they have got a account of things. Like they're like the heavenly bodies with the boundaries. Rahu and Ketu are like aliens. They're like unbounded energy. And Rahu and Ketu can, when they are hard bent on actually creating a path for you, Rahu has got this planet. It can even eclipse sun. It can eclipse, like it can actually block the energy of, you name any planet. If it can eclipse sun and moon, that means how powerful Rahu is. And Ketu is considered as much more powerful than Rahu. And guys, why we say this thing that Rahu and Ketu are like important, or they function akin to the Saturn and Jupiter? Rahu is seen as, it works equivalent to the planet Saturn, because whatever sudden opportunity Rahu will bring for you, you have suddenly gone viral. But if you do not have a strong Saturn, would you be able to capitalize with it or not? If Ketu is strong, you have that power of cleverance, but do you have that audience? Because when Guru comes, when Jupiter comes, everyone, bow down to it. Even the kings bow down to it. But for Ketu, even for Ketu to function well, it needs the support from the Jupiter. But again, guys, coming back to this point, Rahu and Ketu plays very, very significant role, because the blessing and grace, whatever promise is there in your life, and it is attuned and it is connected with the Rahu and Ketu, like nodes are playing a significant role over there. It is something which cannot be evaded. It is something which is bound to happen. Guys, Rahu, like let's say for example, Rahu being placed in the first house, there have been many studies now. People initially, they were of this mindset that Rahu in the first house is not considered as good. Rahu in the ninth house is not considered as good. I have done enough research because of the AI and the Astro Data Bank. There are like many charts. Even in my chart, my Rahu is in the first house. It's not that bad. I can assure you of that. So guys, Rahu in the first house, it's all about, Rahu is all about the viral things, trending things, something which is like, outcast, whatever is foreign, based on the family and the lineage where you are born. Whatever is foreign to you, that is Rahu. And the thing is that there's a high possibility, if your Rahu is placed in the first house, in your fortune awakening, more than people of your caste, of your culture, of your countrymen, you might be getting benefited, or for the blessing, grace, or for your fortune awakening is a foreign land, foreign national might play a very significant role. You might carve your own destiny, or your path, your destiny might be something where you will break the pattern going on in your family. You will carve your own destiny, in short. Guys, if a Rahu is going to be placed in the fifth house, again guys, Rahu's placement in the fifth house is not that good. Again, because you see, look at it in this way. Rahu is the planet of disguise. Rahu is the planet of treachery and all the deception and everything. Ninth house Rahu still needs to be worked out, because through jnana, through the knowledge, you will start building layer by layer in this life. But fifth house is something, it's an opening balance which you have got. So Rahu being in the fifth house needs to be studied carefully, because again, I mentioned this thing, all of our the Jeev Karak things which happened in this lifetime. This could be our progeny, this could be our students, for a teacher, for a disciple, the happiness, the gains from the marriage, everything is connected with the fifth house. The kind of thought which comes to your mind. So again guys, experiences on the account of the progeny, childbirth, is something where whatever you are experiencing right now, it is connected with the Rahu. So that simply means guys, okay, I'm a kind of very optimistic, positive, soft astrologer, but we say this thing, Rahu is sin. Rahu is sin. We say Saturn is punishment, Rahu is sin. Wherever Rahu is placed, there's a high possibility that even I have like Rahu in the first house, I might have committed some sin as well. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. Rahu being in the fifth house, but yeah, first house is different. First house is like, I might attract those kind of energy, but fifth house Rahu, if it is not in a good dignity. So again guys, you have to be very careful. I have like seen the charts of people, like some of the people like, they keep on having miscarriages, or like when you were like not prepared, you have had that accidental pregnancy, you aborted the child. Now when you want that, you're not able to have or conceive a child. And also yes, if your Rahu is in the fifth house, anything which happens in this department, so try not to play around much with it. And yeah, the blessing and the grace and asking forgiveness from your ancestors will become very, very important. Again guys, on the material plane, Rahu in the fifth house can give you success, but again, material things is not something which protects us. Here we have been talking about things like which goes with us in a form of the transcendental wisdom and the knowledge, that energy, the super consciousness which protects us. Rahu in the fifth house can actually give you wealth, that you are flying in a jet. But when that jet is about to crash into something, the person who might be an attendant or a server in the jet, who's going to have a strong fifth house or ninth house, he might be protected, but your life will be end with that crashed jet. That's the point which I'm trying to say you. Rahu will give you wealth, but Rahu will not protect you. Rahu will not give you the dharma or the knowledge of the righteousness. So yes, this is a sensitive placement. Guys, if your Rahu is going to be placed in the 9th house, again guys, now we have left the past. Now we have to build something new. So again guys, Rahu is like, again, I would say this thing that for the higher wisdom, knowledge and something, people are mistaken. Like Rahu can also make you a very intelligent astrologer as well. Because Rahu is just the head part, right? All the calculation, all the AI development and all. So Rahu is considered as good for creating a fortune if you see it on a tangible level, tangible plane. It might give you all those kind of things where you will remain lucky in grabbing an important deal, being at the right time for the right job interview, job placement, all the material things. But when we talk about that contentment, fulfillment, happiness, you go to those kind of energies, those kind of places, when you go to the temple, you go to the church, you go to the mosque, you find that fulfillment, contentment, peace. So that might lack. That greed for more, complaint might be there. Now guys, if Ketu is going to be operating in any of the trine houses, so guys, see Ketu's placement in the first house, that in itself tells about that we generally say this thing that at the time of the birth there might be some mysterious kind of circumstances, or we say this thing, a soul which was not willing to come to this kind of on this plane, human plane. So some sort of complication during the time of the birth. But again guys, if your Ketu is going to be placed in the first house, you automatically attract all the mysteries towards you. So there is a high potential power, like people who have this capacity to awaken their third eye, people who can have that power of clairvoyance and something intuitive faculties and all. So there is a high possibility of that. Again guys, it all comes down to the more sugar you will add, the more sweeter the cake is going to be. I'm just telling you about the potential. It's just like that. Are you putting efforts in that direction? A lot is going to be dependent on that. If your Ketu is going to be placed in the fifth house, in the first house, so you need the support of a guru, Jupiter, more than anything. First house is what you are, and it's just like that. You are a person without a head. So Ketu only listens to the Jupiter. A guru is very important. A guiding person in your life is very, very important. If guys, your Ketu is going to be placed in the fifth house, so guys, Ketu's placement in the fifth house is a very, very strong placement. That also tells about that even in the past lifetime there are some sort of cords. There are some sort of cords which are still connected. Again guys, that is the only reason we say this thing, that whenever the Ketu will get activated in the Antardasha, in the Pratyantar Dasha, so people who have got some sudden awareness or experiences, suddenly manifesting those talents in or peculiarities or interest in certain things, certain skills, which starts coming very natural to these people. So we say this thing that from the previous dimension and experiences, it's like that umbilical cord, astral cord is still connected. So again guys, it might be sensitive. Again, it all comes down to what kind of karmas with which you are born. But if Ketu is there in the fifth house, that simply tells about that yes, a part of the consciousness from the past is deeply connected. Guys, I want to be very clear over here. Ketu's placement in the fifth house, again, I cannot say this thing that it is going to deny the children, but yes, there's a possibility that any of your child might born with some very strong overlap of the similar qualities of any of the departed ancestor or grandfather or something. So there is a slight possibility that grandfather is born again with the similar qualities, preferences, taste. If your grandfather has this habit of teasing the girls, your kid might also be doing the same. I'm just joking. So there is a possibility of that. And guys, if your Ketu is going to be placed in the 9th house, again guys, Ketu in the 9th house is considered as very strong beyond any doubt. These are those kind of people like religious austerities plays a very significant role. Ketu is considered as the most powerful compared to all other planets, like even in terms of the aspects, like the way we say that Jupiter has got 5th and the 9th, Saturn has got 3rd and the 10th, but when it comes down to Ketu, Ketu has eyes everywhere. So Ketu's placement in the 9th house is considered as good. We say this thing that omens will play a very significant role. The more religious you are going to be the more kind of consistent you are going to be in your prayers, in your religious austerities, there is definitely going to be divine protection which is going to be there around you. That can be said. Again guys, fifth house is about what you have earned from the past, but ninth house generally tells about what you are building for the next life. So Ketu's placement will actually make you attuned and aware. I remember that show I watched, I guess the Vikings, where the Ragnar Lothbrok, I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. He has this habit of, in one of the episode, he's digging the ground and he's putting all the jewels and all the gold over there. That okay, I will take this to the next life. So I mean to say that was just a symbolic kind of reference. But what I'm trying to say that your Ketu being in the ninth house, there's a capacity so guys, there is a capacity that you will store good things or good karmas for the future use. We can say this thing, like generally people who are like, see, there have been those stories I heard it in one of the preaching of a spiritual guru, that he mentioned this thing, that people who in their lifetime they spend a lot of the time in the meditation. These are those people, when they are born with a kind of a dug up space, like this portion to be little bit dug down, just because they have worked very strong on their third eye, on the Ajna chakra from the past many lifetime. So the good part is that somehow whatever you are doing, whatever you are sowing in this lifetime, it will be on your aid, like as a credit card which can be accessed in the next life as well, with lot of ease and grace. That's all what I can say. But yes guys, Ketu's placement in the ninth house, all the tragedies and the mishap, like the way I gave this example, like people who get into car crash, there were like 4 passengers, 3 of them died and 1 of them escaped like without a single scratch. So those are the kind of incidents and scenarios where the energy of the Ketu can protect you. So yes, again guys, Ketu is generally connected with the calamities and disasters and all. So if your Ketu is going to be placed in the ninth house and it is working out well, you are also capitalizing it through your religious prayers, austerities and something. So in these kind of scenarios, life protects you. That's all what I can say. So yes guys, this is something which I wanted to say as a part of my inputs. Let me give you a view of the kind of snow which has fallen in, and then we are gonna be completing this video.